Hello, everyone. This is Angie Kim. I'm the President and CEO of the Center for Cultural Innovation. Because we are not sure about people's different connectivity, if you want to use the chat function and just let us know if there's any problems hearing us or seeing the screen, just go ahead and put that in the chat function. So I'm here with
Nadia. I'm the program assistant at CCI.
And Reveca Torres will be leading this call, but I just want to start by saying that we're really excited about being able to provide this particular program for its inaugural year. CCI is an artist intermediary nonprofit organization. In other words, we are wholly dedicated to supporting individuals in the arts, and a program like this is only able to be possible through funding support from the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation. So we're really happy to be able to provide this nationally this year. Just a quick context for how this program came about. And I would say that if you are not yet muted, go ahead and just mute yourself so that there's no interference, feedback, and just to make sure that people have clarity of sound unless you want to ask a question. But again, use the chat function for that. And then I just saw that someone says, I can't see you. We'll be sharing our screen. You won't actually be seeing us, but you should be able to see when Reveca shares her screen, you should be able to see the screen at that point. So just let us know. So the context for this is that CCI has long had an effort, I would say, a sustained effort to really try to serve those who have been, I would say, underserved relative to kind of dominant sources of support for artists throughout the U.S. And a lot of that, I would say, focus is because of our own dedication to supporting individuals in the arts, which for us is quite political, since most nonprofit support goes from institution to supporting other institutions. And so for us, it was really wonderful to enter a conversation with the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, which supports those with spinal cord injury, and but does not have a dedicated arts program, to enter into a conversation where we found ourselves with a kindred spirit who basically understood that we actually need to do more and do better in terms of targeting support and program support for those who are just not, there's nothing called out specifically for them. And I would say the way that Reveca and I designed this particular program was, rather than it being just need-based, it was really about highlighting and providing opportunities for those who have spinal cord injury, who have some kind of artistic practice and an entrepreneurial focus to making a positive impact. We really saw that as assets to not only themselves, but also to society in general. So that was for us a really big, or I would say a really significant priority, is that we always try to offer programming support, funding support for, to highlight the assets that artists can bring rather than just have it be completely need-based. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Reveca. Reveca is, I should just say, Nadia and I work out of the CCI headquarter office in Los Angeles. We also have Laura Poppity on the line, who is our program director in the Bay Area office. And Reveca Torres is a consultant on this particular program and is working out of Chicago. So if you ever need technical assistance, it's likely going to be one of us responding. Reveca?
Thank you, Angie. I am Reveca Torres. Like Angie said, I was working with CCI and helping develop and shape this application. And it really was very exciting for me, because I think this is a really great program for people with spinal cord injuries, especially artists. I am going to go through the guidelines, and can everyone, I hope my screen is viewable. And if it's not, please let me know. And I will be sharing different pages and information as I go through this. And then at the end, there will be some time for Q&A and just discussion if you have any questions. So the SCI Artist-Innovator Fund will offer from 10 to 12 grants of up to $7,500, and they are available to individual artists or entrepreneurs with spinal cord injuries that are inspired to innovate both by their creative practice, but also through their experience of living with a spinal cord injury. And as Angie mentioned, this program was made possible with the Craig Nielsen Foundation, whose founder had a spinal cord injury as well and was an entrepreneur. And so this is an exciting program because obviously I'm guessing most of you or all of you are people with spinal cord injuries that are joining us today. And so living with a spinal cord injury really is, sometimes you have to be creative and you have to problem solve. And so this is, it creates people that are out of the box thinkers, hackers, problem solvers, and to tackle challenges. And so the SCI Artist-Innovator Fund offers artists and makers, entrepreneurs, financial capital that's going to help launch or propel social enterprises. Recent statistics show that self-employment rates among people with disabilities are higher than non-disabled people, but however, there is limited funding that's dedicated to developing capabilities for people with disabilities on a pathway to financial independence. And sometimes it is suggested that it is due to barriers in the workforce. And CCI really challenges these assumptions because we recognize that having a spinal cord injury can bring a unique experience and perspective to creativity and innovation. The SCI Artist-Innovator Fund this is the first year of this program, and we encourage you guys to apply if you see that you are fit and eligible after we go through the criteria. We do acknowledge that it does take time and energy to apply for this, so we've shaped the application in a way that it will help articulate your project, value to your project, a clear business plan, and also, so those of you who may have already, submitted to other grants, feel free to use parts of your other grant applications, to fill in some of the narratives and business matrix and all of that. And if this is your first time applying and this is a new idea, we hope that you are able to use this application as a way to apply to others in the future as well. So we hope that the whole process of applying is of value to you as well. So I'm going to go through some of the eligibility. Let me go to, here we are. And I'll make this bigger so that it is more readable. All right, so to be eligible for consideration for this application, you must be an individual living with a spinal cord injury, and you can be part of a team. However, you should be the primary owner or the lead of the project. And you must be living and working in the USA or territories. And that goes for your project as well. Your project should be in the US and territories. And you must define either as an artist, maker, creative, or culture bearer. And if you don't, your project should reflect a refining that reflects a craft, a cultural, or artistic practice. Some eligible projects are products, services, or innovations that have been inspired by your spinal cord injury or your experience as a person with a spinal cord injury. They can be in an idea phase. So it can be something that you haven't done much of, it's just in the idea phase and you're ready for it to come to life, or a work in progress and you just need some funding to get you to the next step and to move forward. Excuse me. Your project can or should have the potential to develop into self-sustaining revenue. And I want to emphasize the word potential here. It could be, as I said, if your project is in the idea phase and you're currently not generating funds, it needs to be something that has the potential to have self-sustaining revenue generating in the future. And then eligible projects can enable the applicant to deepen artistic, creative, cultural practice. And the very last one is must have a social impact on a community or population. And this can be, it doesn't particularly have to be specific to, spinal cord injury or disability. It could be, the community you live in or a community that you identify with that it is having a social impact. Priority will be given to entrepreneurs that demonstrate a need for capital, but also that their projects show a good business plan. You're clear on how you are going to make your innovation, market it, popularize it, and how it can become revenue generating. And so it must, as I mentioned before, I would say the key three things would be having a spinal cord injury, be a person with a spinal cord injury, have it be revenue generating, and have social impact to a community or communities. Let me switch this down. People that are eligible to apply are artists, and that can be anywhere from a visual artist, musician, dancers, filmmakers, you name it. If you self-define as an artist, you're eligible to apply. Cultural practitioners, makers, and by makers, if you can see in the parentheses here, it could be DIYers, life hackers. If you started doing something that you did as a hack and then it eventually turned into an invention or a new innovation or something, that's eligible as well. And also someone who does not define as an artist, but your innovation shows refinement, so that you have worked on it to become what it is, or what your plan for your project is. I will also go through what is not eligible, or who is not eligible. Funds are not eligible for organizations or nonprofits, or if you have a business or enterprise without a social impact, and if your project or you are living and working outside of the US and territories. And if the award, as I mentioned earlier, there will be 10 to 12 grants of up to $7,500. And one important thing I'd like to mention is that CCI is willing to work with you or sort of determine best options to disperse funds if it in any way will impact your disability-related community support. So if that is something that you may be worried about, I hope that does not discourage you from applying, because you know, there's ways that you know, we can work with you to figure out what's best for you. And evaluation criteria. Applications are going to be reviewed by a group of panelists from different backgrounds, and they'll reflect you know, diverse cultural, gender, experiential backgrounds. So it could be, you know, people with spinal cord injury on the panel, with a background of business, entrepreneurship, community development. So it's going to be a diverse panel, and they will be reviewing the following questions. Is the project innovative? And does it reflect or further the applicant's artistic, creative, craft, or cultural practice? Does it have a feasible business plan? Does the project have a potential to develop into self-sustaining revenue? And will the project have a positive social impact? And the timeline is the due date for the applications is Wednesday, June 12th by 12 p.m. Pacific time. So we're about a little less than a month away, I believe. So you still have time to work on it and, you know, be able to ask questions. Once you know, all the applications are submitted, the review process for the grant panel will happen in July, and applicants will be notified of their status in August, and then funds will be dispersed in September. And so the grant cycle will be from September of 2019 through August of 2020. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, which is nice. You don't have to wait a really long time and find out what the status is. Okay, I'm going to go through the questions that are in the narrative. So how to apply. This is a application will be accepted through an electronic system. So it's an online application, and the link is included both in these guidelines and also on the web page on the website. And so when you go in there, you will first have to register and sort of create an account with your name and like different demographic information. And once you do that, then it will let you move forward and begin the application. And it has different parts to it. So there's a section for narrative questions where you will be able to write in answers to your questions. So one of the questions, we want to know a brief description. And so the innovation description is a very clear and concise, 1 to 2 sentences. This is sort of your elevator pitch. We just want to know very quickly what is your project or innovation. Secondly, how will you use the funds? So describe what you're seeking to do with the funding, how it's going to advance your innovation or get you to the next level. And if you notice here, it says, a little note here to be specific. Again, the funding, the grant period is September 2019 to August 2020. So what will you complete in that amount of time in terms of your project? The next one is information about your practice. Whether you define as an artist or not, we want to know about the process of making your product or your service or your idea. What creativity, problem solving you have gone through, and the process that makes it uniquely yours. And so describe this, describe your artistic, creative, cultural practice. If you define as an artist, what is your artistic identity? Are you a painter? Are you an Etsy maker? Let us know what your artistic identity is, and define how your innovation is furthering that. Social impact is the next one. You describe the social impact you will achieve through your innovation, and how your innovation will have a positive social impact on your communities. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this does not have to be specific to how will it impact the spinal cord injury community. It can be communities outside of that. Financial independence. Describe how you will realize revenues, and how this project will develop into a self-sustaining source of income. I think that's pretty straightforward. Just would like to know what your goals and plans on how to achieve financial independence in that. Friends and networks. We'd like to know the people that will support your vision and help you reach your goals, what networks you're connected to personally, professionally, and any social networks that will contribute and help in achieving your goal. There will be a section for bios as well. So we'd like a bio of yourself, and if you are part of a team, a bio of yourself and your team members, what role they play, and the qualifications that they have to be as part of this project. There is also a section where we are requesting a video. And this video is for us to get to know you and what inspired your innovation. It also serves the purpose of helping you get comfortable in talking about your project or your idea. So we would like you to create a short video, no more than 90 seconds, and that will address the following questions. Describing the innovation that you are seeking support for. So what is your product, your project? And then address what stage you are in. Is it in the idea stage? Are you, prototyping something? Are you looking to expand your business? So let us know what stage you're in your project, how long you've been working on it, and then we want to know what impact your innovation is going to have on the community, on your communities, how and why you are the right person to solve this problem or issue, or to come up with this innovation. And little note here, feel free to brag. So this video is really for us to get to know you, to get to know how this innovation reflects your SCI perspective, what inspired you. So feel free to be creative. There is a tip sheet that you can also find on the guidelines that will help you, develop your video. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy where you need to, hire a camera crew or anything like that. You can do it straight from your phone, and just look at there is the tip sheet that will help you with that. And then you will upload your video to YouTube or Vimeo And there's a section on the online application where you will provide a link to your video. So again, we won't need you to upload the video, just the link, but do be aware you probably want to do that with enough time to, before the deadline to upload your video and make sure that all the links are working and everything. There are some attachments that will also be included in the application. The business plan matrix, project budget, your company's financial audit, if there was a recent one, otherwise you can skip that. Letters of support, and that can include from partners, investors, professional recommendations, community leaders, or anyone that you feel could speak about you and your project and give merit to your qualifications and your project. And then there's space for you to provide supplemental materials that will help us learn a little bit more about your project. I'm going to go quickly through the business plan matrix. Let's see, and that is here. And it looks like this. It is a one-page document that will include different aspects. So this isn't going to be like a long document. We just want a one-page document for you to fill out the information on here. And then it needs to be, concise, but with all the information there. So for example, the first box would be the team. Who is the lead and who is your team members? And brief description of who they are and what their role is. Identity, what is the overall business? And if you are, if your project is proposing a part of your overall business, how does this fit into your overall business or idea or innovation? Problem, what is the problem with your innovation what is the problem your innovation aims to address? So a problem and an issue that you're trying to solve or address. And then innovation, how does your innovation solve this problem? We would also like to know market. So who is your target market? And who are you aiming to reach?
Reveca, this is Angie. Can you, even if it means scrolling, can you expand your screen a bit? Because for all of us, we see even less than what you see.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can.
And while Reveca is doing that, I would also emphasize we intentionally made these fill-in boxes small because we just, oh, Reveca, that's great, thanks.
Good.
We made them intentionally small because we wanted you to get really concise. So keep in mind that this is for a readership that you can likely doesn't know you. So providing information that is almost like what you would say to a total stranger would help.
Angie, your sound is breaking up a little bit.
Can other people just mute really quick? That might reduce the feedback.
Yeah, that's better.
And so when, for instance, like who is the team, who's the lead team members, you're already sharing their names. So it's more important to be more descriptive in the sense of like, this is a group, it's myself and I have SCI and I have skills around this along with, someone who's passionate about this particular impact area and someone who knows how to do fabrication, right? Like that's going to be more informative in a one sheet than just listing a bunch of names of people whom we don't know. So we want to know your story with this business plan. We want to get a sense of the personality of your enterprise, more than just the kind of like rote type of things we might be able to find elsewhere. Remember, it's your one-page sheet to actually give us a real good sense of the overall kind of identity that you have. So I'm going to mute that. So Reveca, this is great that we could see the text now. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so like Angie said, it's kind of like at a glance. If you were to hand this off to someone, so we can quickly see what your project is, who you are, what you're doing, why, and how. And I think I was yeah, right here. Market. Like I was saying about the target, who's your target market, your audience, social impact, who, what are benefiting from your innovation. Again, just a quick few sentences about that. Popularization, how do you intend to popularize your innovation? And then with that, marketing, what is your strategy? So how do you intend to popularize it, and then what your marketing and sales strategy is. Financial goals. What are your hoped financial goals and realistic, realistic financial goals for your innovation? And contingencies, if your project requires additional funds or doesn't secure enough, what's your plan? So we want to know that you have a plan. As with any, new innovation, there will be challenges most likely. So what is your biggest challenge or hurdle that you have come up against or expect? And opportunity. What makes this moment the right time for you to pursue this opportunity? Like why now and why you? Again, one page, brief and concise. And I'm going to close this one up. Let's see, I'm getting close to the, actually I need to go through sample applicants. Let's see if I can make that bigger as well. Okay. So this is the first time that this fund has been available. So, we don't have a list of past grantees that you can take a look at and sort of determine if your project might be the right fit. So we developed a couple of applicant profiles as an example for you to either encourage you to apply or get an idea or and see if this is the right fit. And I'll go through some of these. So our first little guy up here is Antonio, someone who his project is a line of shoes that has hidden closures so that someone can check your toes or your heels if you're sitting in a shoe and it's easy to put on. The adaptive features may not be obvious and the product is not marketed as adaptive. The phase he is in is promotion and sales. So he's looking to use funds to set up a website and e-commerce. So he's already designed this line of shoes and is looking to find a way to be able to sell his product. And his inspiration for innovation, he is a C5-6 quad from a diving accident and had struggled putting on his own shoes. So this inspired him to start or to develop these or design these shoes. Our next applicant is Justin. His project is a pedicab that can accommodate a wheelchair and a companion. And the pedicab are those ones with the bikes that a lot of people can use to move around the city. And so his phase of his project is building a prototype of version 2 and going through safety regulations. His inspiration for innovation is him and his brother were pedicab drivers and has not been able to use one since as a wheelchair user. It's the mode of transportation that's not accessible to wheelchair users, and he's looking for it to be accessible in different cities worldwide. And Justin is finishing his degree in industrial design, so he's using his skills and also his experience as a person with a spinal cord injury to come up with a solution and a fun innovation. Keiko is a photographer, and the project is designing various camera mounts for a wheelchair in the phase of design and development with a design team. And the inspiration for innovation is that she's a storyteller, photographer, a quad, and needing to operate a camera efficiently with from her wheelchair, and is looking to share her perspective as a wheelchair user and change the narrative of stories about people with disabilities, so or her community. So there you can see that there's also a social impact part to that project. Andre is creating VR models, virtual reality models that can be used by rehab professionals working with patients who have transportation issues or can do outpatient therapy from home. And this is in the design phase, so funds will be used to create animations or in 3 modules. And Andre was inspired by being in rehab and having to cancel multiple appointments because he had no access to transportation. And finally, Lucy, her project is an open source adaptation that can be used by dancers and power chairs that allow for hands-free driving of their chair to be able to have new choreography choices. This is in the ideas phase, so Lucy is looking to receive funds so that she can pay for a membership to be in a makerspace and to work with collaborators and be able to compensate collaborators and designers. And her inspiration was she's a dancer who is a quad and uses a power chair and wants to be able to have both her arms available and be able to drive her wheelchair as well. And this can be used because it's open source. It would be able to be used by many dance companies worldwide that are doing integrated dance. So these are a few examples. Don't see these as daunting as well as big projects. You know, simpler projects are, you know, are also eligible too. And again, if you have questions on if your project is eligible, we're able to, you can run it past us and we're able to give you some answers on that. And I think that is all the documents I need to go through. I think we'll have some time now for Q&A, if anyone has questions.
Are you going to moderate? Go for it.
Yeah, again. So Reveca, a few people have posted questions on the chat, so I can say the questions and then if you could answer them. So the first question is, somebody actually asked if writers are included as artists.
Yes.
Did you answer that, Angie?
Yes, they are included as artists.
Yeah.
The second question is, may we be able to submit more than one idea? If yes, up to how many?
Angie, I'm going to let you answer that.
What does our facts say? I have to look at that. I'm a little I have to pause because some of our programs allow multiple, some of them don't. I don't remember what was determined with this.
I don't think it really says anything on there.
Then it would be 1.
Okay.
So let me just double check.
Okay, and while she's checking, so the next question is, when the 90-second video is posted, is there a way that CCI can see it before I submit the application?
So technically, I'm not quite sure what the issue would be. You should double check how whatever you post to make sure that you can see it, check it with different browsers. We don't actually do anything more than confirm automatically through our software when an application has been fully submitted. If on our end we find that there seems to be some sort of confusion or something that seemed inadvertent, not that someone only did 25% of an application, clearly was not able to finish it in time. If we see that it's a complete application, there just seems to be something wrong, maybe the link's not working, we typically reach back out to the applicant just to see what's going on, because it could sometimes be on our end, it could be the browser we're using. But no, we don't actually confirm with every applicant. We don't actually have the staff capacity to do that kind of level of customized service. But we have had submissions in so many different mediums before, and that's usually not an issue.
Then the next question is, what resources are there that can help an artist manage revenue sources? For example, artists with income from arts practice, as well as employer or self-employment not related to arts practice. Specifically, manage filing when there are multiple sources.
Wait, where's the We, for all of our programs where we're providing any kind of financial support, we recommend that the recipient consult with their own tax advisor. We are on the, but one thing to note is that we are ourselves very flexible around what the terms could be, but we would defer to the artist to let us know. The default would be probably, I can't recall for this particular program, but I think the default for most of our funding programs is the vast majority of the funding is provided upfront, and about 10% is left to be paid upon receipt of a final report. I believe that should be in here somewhere. And in that case, we have been able to work with grantees to tier or stagger, for instance, their payment across like 2 tax years, for instance, or in other ways. So that's just something that we would work out with the artist to make sure that it works for them. We are sensitive to the fact that this is a population that doesn't want to inadvertently tip when it comes to still qualifying for benefits. So we're particularly open and wanting to be a partner on making sure it works for them.
The next question is, definitions of working artists vary greatly between grants. Can a grant application qualify for the opportunity even if they are not fulfilling the hours practicing art per week requirements of this grant opportunity?
Oh, Reveca, you'll have to inform me, but I didn't know that we had a minimum hours of practice per week. Where is that?
That is actually not in the criteria. I don't think there is a minimum that you need to be practicing artists or anything like that.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if we had done that. We are allowing artists to self-define. So if you see that, then for some reason, please just send us the link to it, because it's not anywhere that I can see.
All right. The next question is, if we will have a theme, we may need to devise This seems to be after some entrepreneurial thought.
It sounds like you're, Odie, it sounds like you might be getting worried about our regular verbal mention of a team. We just realize that some people have teams, but this is really an award program for the individual. So we just want to make sure that you, if you're depending on a team, that you have the opportunity to share that, so that that's a consideration. If you don't have a team, that's perfectly fine. Some of the examples that Reveca cleverly crafted describe people who are just really working as a solo entrepreneur, and that's totally fine. Certainly don't make up a team if you don't really have a team. For those of you who actually have a team, you'll know it.
And then the next is, who may we contact as we are trying to devise the business plan?
Well, we provided that template so that you don't have to worry about, if you never created a business plan before, this is pretty much our way of saying, here you go. If you fill out these questions, that's the business plan. So we make it super easy. We personally don't help you fill it out in the sense that we could never answer the questions that you have, but we've made it super easy by asking you the leading questions that we anticipate needing for our panelists to adjudicate business plans. If you have any follow-up questions to that, Odie, go ahead and just put them in the chat.
So there's no additional business plan. If you fill out the matrix, that is what you need to submit.
Correct.
Okay. These examples are very tech or design focused. Is there room for creating more analog or low-tech projects?
Absolutely. As Reveca mentioned, the scale of some of those examples may be well beyond what you may be trying to do something that just only has a positive social impact for your neighborhood or a community of people in which you are part of that community. They could be very close, it could be very small, it could be very large and national or international. That's up to you. We just wanted to provide examples that gave you almost a stereotypical idea of what we mean by positive social impact, entrepreneurial activities that help the artists potentially be on a pathway to earning income. So absolutely, it could be low tech or no tech at all.
The next question is, I am a C6 squad who walks. I wrote a memoir, and from there I have started sunglasses and t-shirts with a message. Should I mention 2 products or 1? I would have prototypes for sunglasses, but this would need a designer of some sort.
It really depends. So this is a great question because rather than responding to this particular one, what I'll say is the question opens up an opportunity to just describe, like, we are wanting to know, where are you with your enterprise? Are you trying to develop a business where this kind of effort has like a suite of retail products, or are you just trying to invent one thing or innovate one thing? So where in this case, maybe just the t-shirts with a message, right? So that we leave up to you, but it's a great example of we're open to it being to meeting you where you are. If you're trying to lift a whole business with a bunch of retail lines, let us know that. If that's not the case and you just want support for one of the items, like I have an idea for sunglasses that are, not only have a positive message, but it's going to have some technical features in it also, then that's fine also. So that's really up to you.
The next question is evaluation panel comprised already?
Not yet. And we will, we have a list of folks for whom they've already been advisors and allies to this program, friends and family kind of folks who have been, or not friends and family, I guess it's more of a kitchen cabinet of advisors that we bounced ideas and had them look at drafts of this whole program and what we're asking for, we will go back to them to devise that list of panelists. But we also tend to wait a little bit to see some of the applications as they come in to give us a sense of where there might be some what the patterns of applicants are, so that we select a panel that has relevance in terms of the types of projects and entrepreneurs that they can actually weigh in on.
About the financial income.
Anything else? Is that it?
Is there any other questions?
So questions or particular areas that you found confusing? Keep in mind also one thing about the deadline. We do have to make a hard stop. It's automated on our back end, so we give you exactly what time, what date, what time, which time zone. Make sure that you leave yourself plenty of time to put this together if you are seeking to apply. In other words, it would be, in just our experience, an application like this, you would be struggling to get it done the weekend of, or just, you know, even a week before. You want to give yourself enough time that you can work on it, reread it, re-review it, share it among friends and colleagues if you have, you know, that desire to do so for their feedback and its readability. All of those things help to create a really competitive application. And then to also just make sure that you check out what time zone we're in if you are coming in a little bit towards the last minute, because we would hate to have you do all that work and then something as simple as a time, you know, the timeline gets away from you.
So we have 2 additional questions. First one is, will a recording of this presentation be available? Yes, we will add, we have this recorded and we will add it to the grant program website, and we will share it out on our social media as well. The next question is, applicant self-description, we can choose from. One was cultural innovators. I guess, are you asked, the question would be, what is defined as cultural innovation?
Well, I'm not going to, you know, we give you a broad range of terms that you may or may not, it may or may not resonate with you. Rather than focusing on the term, we also had described, we're looking for people for whom either as an as a self-described artist, they are pursuing their artistic practice with this project. So an easy example is someone who is a dancer who has a real sort of great idea for how a particular innovation on a proscenium stage, to improve a proscenium stage, for instance, in a cost-effective way, could really help other dancers who might be wheelchair users. That's clearly someone who is using their artistic practice in a way that helps create that kind of like aha inventor moment. And then the other way that we describe is someone who may never have trained academically or professionally as an artist, quote unquote artist, but in the iterative process of trying to get it right, really thinking through the design of it, whatever that innovation is, really trying to understand what, you know, that really good design should be both functional, and there's a beauty to that oftentimes. That those design considerations, the practice of iterating, the kind of process that goes in that really mirrors an artistic practice, we feel that that also reflects an artistic or design practice sensibility, especially with this program, because we're asking you to bring yourself into it. What is your perspective? In some ways, you can almost describe how your unique perspective could almost be like as part of an artist statement of what you were thinking about, why you thought it was important, the perspective that you have. So all of those different ways, it is a pretty broad spectrum of how you might self-define as an artist. If I would say, just as a foil, if you are someone who's like, oh, I can invent a million things under the sun, and I give it to a fabricator and they figure it out, I will tell you that will not be competitive.
We do have about 4 minutes left at this webinar. If there's any last minute questions to Reveca or Angie regarding the SCI program, feel free to type it.
And if we didn't get to it on this webinar, or for some reason which often happens, you're like, oh, a day later, oh, now I have a question. Our contact information is on the web page, so as well as our phone number. So we encourage you to take advantage of being able to access us to ask any follow-up questions or any new kind of questions that might arise. Well, seeing no other questions, Reveca, thank you so much. Oh, we have one more?
We have one more. So the question from Josh, if we have more than one idea to submit, can we submit more than one proposal, or should we choose one?
Yeah, I've looked, we don't actually say you can do more than one. The default is, I think, just as kind of a funder practice, it's one per applicant. So I would say pick the one that seems to be the best fit for this particular funding opportunity and submit that one. All right, well, thank you. Reveca, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nadia, thank you. And please reach out if you have any questions. We definitely encourage you to try. There is no guarantee that we would be able to offer this program again in the future. So as Reveca mentioned, we designed the application process to actually also help you put together a business plan, articulate your kind of innovative and entrepreneurial thinking, teasing out the kind of that artistic side of your practice, and hope that that can be a resource, but that it's also an opportunity for you to see if you can compete for this program. And I would say that, you know, we definitely want to encourage you to do so, because even if you don't get it, it would be fantastic for a national panel to see what you're doing and start to recognize your name. So we encourage you to apply is the bottom line. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.